Hello, everybody, and welcome to the esports.net Rocket League show. My name is Oliver Bass, joined alongside by PyroJ. And Pyro, we are here today to talk about Gamers8. We just had a worldwide international competition for Rocket League in RLCS World Championship. But this time, we've got another one with a little bit of a difference. It's a crew battles format here, Pyro. So why don't you explain to our audience what exactly that entails?
Yeah, listen, Worlds was amazing. I cried at the end watching Vitality lift that trophy. It was an emotional experience, but it could get a little more exciting, could be a little more invested. Crew battles switches from just 3v3 to mixing a little 2v2 and 1v1, shaking up the rosters and seeing who can shine. You start out with a 3v3 in game number 1, but then game 2, the loser of that 3v3 chooses between 2v2 and 1v1. Game 3 returns to 3v3, and then game 4, if it gets to that, you switch off. If you did 2v2 earlier, you do 1v1 this time, or vice versa. And if you go to game 5, it's return to form again for 3v3. So crew battles really shakes up the scene. Asks a lot of these teams to perform not only in the strategies that they've invested into for the entire RLCS season for 3v3, but also some of those ranked playlists when they're at home grinding, the 2v2 playlists, or some of those 1v1 extraordinaires to really show up and turn out for this $2 million event. It's all fun and games with crew battles, but it's also high stakes.
It's $2 million on the line. It's the second year of this event as well. Gamers8 did happen last year as well, but this time it's a little bit more established. It's a little bit more polished, and I think that's going to create for some even better competition. So why don't we talk about the competition itself? Let's dissect. Let's dive into it. Let's talk about which teams we think are going to be the ones to watch, which teams that you guys have to pay attention to maybe take this whole thing home. And real quickly, before we do that, let's talk about what teams actually are here. We had 24 total teams, 16 of which were invited, 8 of which had to qualify. Our 16 invited teams were FaZe Clan Furia, Gen G, Mobile One Racing, Carmine Corp, Team Liquid, BDS, Ninjas in Pajamas, Team Secret, Ground Zero, Pioneers, Rule 1, Team Falcons, Elevate, Gaming Gladiators, Limitless, and Twisted Minds. Those are more or less the number 1 and number 2 representatives, or number 1 through number 3 and 4 representatives for every single region on the planet. In addition to that, we had 8 more teams qualify, 4 from NA, 4 from EU, the 2 primary regions within RLCS, and those 8 teams were Version 1, Koi, G2, Optic, Team Vitality, the former world champions. Yeah, they didn't get an invite, they just qualled. Monkeys, Oxygen, and SUH. Those are the 24 teams that are going to be participating here, Pyro, and a couple of these have got our eyes. There's the obvious picks, like, usual frontrunners like Team Vitality, who, again, already proven. FaZe Clan, First Killer is one of the best 1v1 players of all time. Speaking of best 1v1 players of all time, Monkey Moon on Team BDS. Carmine Corp is all of a sudden playing ones. Vatira is taking Rowas to game 5s in a best of 5. Rowas is even here. He's playing for Rule 1. But we've got a couple other teams that we should pay attention to, and I'm going to let you kick it off with your first pick.
Yeah, I'll be honest, you already mentioned some heavy hitters, but I want to talk about a home run derby winner right here. It's an event hosted in the Middle East. I've got to pick a team at first that could win it for the Middle East, Team Falcons. Let's not forget, this team is on a revenge tour. Last year when Gamers8 happened, for the first time with this format for Rocket League, Team Falcons came so close. They lost in the semifinals in game number 7 to the championship winners of Furia. They won it. They got a taste of that championship title. They want it badly. And not only do they want it so much as to come back and try to take it, but they are also inserting new talent into this roster. This is fresh news as of today. Nubo inserting into this roster for Khaled. Ridiculous to even think about the fact that Khaled and Ahmad are not going to be teaming together anymore, but the sky is just the limit at this point. A team that you didn't think could be more deadly in this competition, Bass, has just upgraded.
It's crazy to think that this team, which we assumed would have, Khaled as the 1v1 player, all of a sudden has 2 other players that are now the best 1v1 players of all time, and as long as one of the most up-and-coming 1v1 players. And again, for Nupo, this is the first time he's really able to show himself in about a year's time. He was actually banned from RLCS competition, so this is the first competition outside of RLCS. He's really been able to show himself within the Middle East, and expectations are high for them, but they still have to reach those expectations. A team that I don't think really has the expectations set high, nor needs to reach them, just kind of has to prove that they're still at that form is Gen G Mobile 1 Racing. Now, we mentioned a lot of heavy hitters here, like FaZe Clan, like BDS, and I think that Gen G could go on that list, but people have their questions. They're wondering whether or not this team's going to be able to really shine past their usual expectations, because while they're a shoo-in almost every time for a 5th to 8th or a 4th and higher, the last time they were able to actually raise a trophy was all the way back in fall. It had been that long. The first major of the year is when Gen G Mobile 1 actually won it all. And clearly, that has bothered them. They've been talking publicly about how much they've been grinding, how much they've been getting ready. A quote directly from Nolly at the World Championship asking about players who grind was, "These MFers don't play the game enough." Literally calling out every other person at this competition in the world, saying, "You guys don't grind, and we do." And when you've got two of the best 1v1 players of all time in Appjack and Chronic on the team, not to mention Nolly has past 1v1 experience himself, being a top 20 player at one time globally. Yeah, this team's ready to play, and I think that that usual expectation for them to do well, but maybe not win it all, needs to be adjusted a little bit, because if this team is in form, I don't know if anybody's stopping Gen G.
If they're in form, if they're as hungry as you are picturing them to be, which it very much seems like they are. Bass, you and I have even talked to Nolly, like, personally. I mean, we see the characteristics of this guy who is not only a genuine, kind dude, but also a determined one as well. To lift that trophy again, a hungry Gen G is a very, very scary one.
Shout out Joseph Kidd.
But I do want to talk about another scary team, maybe even a sleeper team. You know, people might be sleeping because this team wasn't at Worlds. They're honk shooing. They're me-meing about this team. But I want to talk. I want to wake everybody up. Bring the news of version 1. I get it. I don't stop talking about version 1. Listen, I got a purple background for a reason. I love this team. I love that color. But V1 with mode. We got Daniel and Beast Mode coming up to the 2v2 scene. Give me some of that. You cannot tell me that Daniel and Beast Mode are gonna lose to really any team in 2v2. Okay, I just won't have it. Maybe my fandom is a little inflated here, but I don't care. I know this team wants to make a big last hoorah. They didn't get the chance at Worlds. It was stripped away from them when Roll 1 performed so well at the Spring Major to offer Twisted Minds that third MENA spot instead of an extra North American slot. That is how version 1 did not get a spot at Worlds. But now they have this chance at an international competition with a team that formed that has reached some high highs, Bass, like in the second regional spring split, also has some lows in the other North American regionals. They want a final chance at glory. I think this is their chance to do it.
I would have to agree. I think that version 1 has been a team that has been on the rise. I think the big issue has been inconsistency for this squad.
Yeah.
So, if they've worked out a lot of the kinks, a lot of the issues that they had during that last split, there's no reason to not think that this team could take this entire thing home. The only issue for them, due to the fact that they had to qualify here and didn't get invited due to their lackluster results, they're now in a group with Team Liquid, Rule 1, Saw, Team Secret, and Koi. I will be honest, there's a couple teams in there that aren't as threatening, but the big players in that group are still going to be a problem for them, or maybe it's just going to be another challenge that they're going to be able to overcome. We'll have to find out, and we'll have to look at our final team to shout out here. Now, I've actually bounced back and forth between this one, because initially my pick was going to be pretty clear-cut. But I look at two different teams, and I think about two different teams. The first one being Team Secret, and I'm not going to dive too far into them, but I think people have kind of slept on them due to the fact that not only has this team done well internationally, but they have the best 1v1 player out of South America on their team, and KV1. That kid has been a demon as of late in every 1v1 event that he's participated in, but he's not the player I want to pay attention to. The individual in the team I want to pay attention to is Monkeys. If you guys remember the name Braziers, it's maybe because he's been a 1v1 demon. Maybe it's because he's been on a million different teams throughout his RLCS competition, being a pro, or I guess a semi-pro, that's kind of been stuck in that bubble scene for a long time. But last year, he had a breakout event that really put his name on the map. That breakout event was Gamers8. The very first Gamers8, a young Braziers came into this one as a qualifying team from EU on Heat. Heat picked up Juicers before the event and found themselves with, an opportunity to kind of just be like, hey, we're on an international competition. What can we do? Oh, qualify for playoffs. in a group that no one had these guys coming out of, with Rogue, Team Secret, Anka, Endpoint, Space Station Gaming. Heat were able to make it out, and it was due to Razier's and his 1v1 prowess and 2v2 prowess that this team was able to make it all the way to playoffs. They got first rounded by Falcons, but put up a great fight in a 4-2 competition. This year, though, he comes back, Razier's in particular, comes back with, in my mind, an even stronger team. He's got Matane and Smokes now at his side, and those are two players that have put up crazy results this entire year long. Monkeys have not only shown themselves to be one of the best bubble teams, but a consistent RLCS stay at this point. Pretty much not missing out on many, if any, of the events this year. So this is a team that has done extremely well in the past. I think they're in their best form yet. And if Razier's is going to continue to be this absolute monster in ones, I have no idea how high the ceiling is for this team.
That's what it is about, the high ceilings, right? You mentioned how Heat made that deep run last year. It's all about these sleeper picks. It's all about who's going to surprise everyone in this event. So you got to keep your eyes on these teams that we mentioned. If you even want to hear more about that Monkeys team, we actually interviewed recently on esports.net their coach, Andy the Mandy. So go and check out that video if it's recommended here. And yeah, let's keep an eye on those sleeper picks, because this is really just a second chance, Bass. This Gamers8 event is like, hey, Worlds was great. Let's do it again. And for any team that maybe had a team they lost to that they want another stab at, or maybe another team that just wants to really cement themselves as the leader, like Team Vitality, this is the place to do it. The high-level competition in the crew battle format. I'm so excited.
It's a huge opportunity for not only the teams that went to Worlds, it's a huge opportunity for the teams that missed out on it. Almost half of the teams participating in this were not actually at the World Championship, which means they got to try and show themselves off in their final chance at the competition all year long. The RLCS season is wrapped up. The Gamers8 season is just now starting, and actually, it's been going for a little while. If you guys are interested in actually watching more Gamers8 action, they've got their CS event going on right now, so if you're a CSGO fan, maybe tune in. Maybe pay attention, because next week is when all of this kicks off. August 24th to the 27th, 4 days of competition here for Gamers8. I'll be watching, Pyro will be watching, and we hope to see you guys there, or maybe we'll see you guys next time, because that's all that we've got here for the esports.net Rocket League show. It's been a fantastic one, and we hope that you guys will tune back in next week as we break down all the action that either happened at Gamers8 is happening, or maybe somewhere in between. Either way, we will see you next time. Have a great rest of your weekend.